Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. We have an update to this ongoing, insane story, the restraining order that a lady has or had against Bachelorette contestant Devin. Well, it gets way worse. I mean, to the point where I've been on my group chat with a lot of, with several of my respected content creators trying to figure out what to do with this information. Online, there has been a 5-page document posted that outlines some of the insane things that were going on from the victim's own words. I'm not going to share it with you, but it exists, and I'm going to paraphrase it in the most sanitary way possible. That's what I'm going to try to do, is just paraphrase what was said. I'm going to read this article for you, at least snippets of it, and we actually have a response from ABC, or at least a source that works with ABC, saying they do a great job trying to vet everybody, but things fall through the cracks. Boo! I mean, not a good response. Find out. Say, we're going to do an internal investigation. We're going to find out how this passed through the cracks, if that's what happened. Bachelor contestant Devin's ex had a restraining order against him in 2017. Well, I think it goes without saying, but maybe not, trigger warning for sure based on DV. This is a conversation about DV. And as we already shared, this was information broken by Reality Steve last night on his YouTube channel, and there are just new details emerging. Again, all of those details I'm not going to share. Normally, I say, well, if something's made public, it's ours to talk about. But in this case, just trust me, you can go find this information if you really need to. But I'm getting a real intuitive moment here to just lay off for the victim's sake. She did not want to talk to Steve. And again, I think it's fair for him to have reached out to her, as you do when you cover these types of stories. You know, do you want to share your story? And of course, that so far has not been the case. Well, not only was he allegedly arrested for trespassing into his ex's apartment, but there's way more to the story. Again, I'm going to paraphrase through this. Kristen Baldwin covered this for Entertainment Weekly, and I'm assuming there's going to be a lot more people who talk about it. It's just all happened in the last day. You know, this isn't the type of stuff you want to rush into sort of talking about because it's heavy, and it makes you wonder how the Bachelor could have let this guy be on the show. I don't know what else to say. This is such a different story from the story of, well, his relationship with Jen ended in a murky... No. This is just like full-blown, you should not have people like this on your show, assuming that there's merit behind these allegations, which, it would be illegal to file a false police report and all that stuff, right? Anyhow, according to legal papers obtained by Entertainment Weekly, his ex had a restraining order against him. Reality Steve reported that. She was not named in the arrest warrant affidavit. It was prepared by Baton Rouge Police Department. She told an officer that she and Devin had recently broken up. He lived 2 doors down from her. After being out of town, she came home to find her house burglarized. A diamond necklace one Devin had given her while they were still dating was missing. The woman also alleged to police that Devin had come to her house banging on the door several times and screaming at her, and that she had since filed a restraining order against him. Later that evening, Devin made a fire out in the street with what appeared to be the actual restraining order, the affidavit further alleged. And again, they're doing a good job here of distancing themselves from it, and we need to as well. These are the allegations of the affidavit. It doesn't mean I don't believe them. I'm just stating that that's the allegation of the affidavit. She also had a tire flattened in her vehicle, and when it was getting changed, Devin came outside and began laughing at her. Devin was arrested on burglary charges. He ultimately pleaded guilty to charges of criminal trespass and simple criminal damage to property of less than $500 and received 1 year of unsupervised probation. So we already covered the different probation. He had to take drug tests. He was unsupervised. If he doesn't get arrested and have any other issues, maybe it gets expunged or whatever. I'm not really sure. So here's what's interesting. Here's what a source close to production tells Entertainment Weekly. We take the safety of our contestants very seriously and make every effort to conduct thorough diligence, as exhaustive as our vetting process is. This protective order did not surface in our searches, which, by the way, is crazy because people online said, hey, it took me 5 minutes to look this up. So is it gross incompetence? Now, Devin's not a catch to the level where I believe anyone on the show would be like, oh no, we know what he did, but we got to get him on. It's not like there's some conspiracy that I know of to get him on the show. It just feels like incompetence. That's what it feels like to me. And they need to do a better job, and they need to do a better job at responding. According to Reality Steve, the restraining order Devin's ex took out against him was later sealed, but the burglary arrest affidavit, which discusses the restraining order, is in the public record. So everything that's discussed is public information, but it doesn't mean I'm going to share it with you guys. But I still think it's worth talking about. Trust me when I say it's a very tough, needle to thread here, because it's worth talking about, but with respect for the woman who wrote the affidavit and her handwriting being shown, I just think that's something we don't want to get into all of the specifics. Entertainment Weekly has obtained the now unsealed petition for protection from abuse, which was filed by Devin's ex-girlfriend on March 22nd, 2017. The document features the woman's handwritten account of alleged abuse by Devin, including that he spit on me, threw his drink on me at Pelicans game in front of everyone in the crowd, and put me in a chokehold covering my mouth. He is already public enemy number one in Bachelor Nation for his callous treatment of Jen Tran. So they go on, they talk about the deleted text messages, the 13-minute video. Sadly, this isn't the first time a Bachelorette contestant's criminal past slipped through the cracks during the show's vetting process. In 2018, producers discovered after the fact that Lincoln, one of the contestants on Becca Kufrin's season of The Bachelorette, had been arrested for indecent assault and battery after groping a woman on a harbor cruise. So the spokesperson previously for Warner Brothers said no one at The Bachelorette production had any knowledge about the incident or charges when Lincoln was cast, and he himself ever denied ever having engaged in or having been charged with any sexual misconduct. So my guess is when you sign up for these shows, they ask if you've ever been arrested and you say no, and I guess they take you at your word for it. Would the Bachelor producers consider suing Devin if he falsely represented what went down? But the question also is, if Devin lived up to the plea deal, which was the probationary period, does that count as it? And now, obviously, it wasn't expunged, but I don't have all the legal sort of knowledge behind whether or not this counts as him, getting it expunged or not. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. Right. And that's the most important thing, is that this all happened allegedly according to the affidavit. So I'm going to move away from my picture-in-picture, and I'm going to pull up the images on my end because I just don't feel comfortable sharing them with you. But in the arrest affidavit, the defendant abused protected person in the following manner. So these are some of the things that were checked off: spit, damage to property, and damage to phone. They stalked her, shoved her, choked, and slapped her. These are what are check marked off here in this affidavit. The most recent incident of abuse, which caused the petitioner to file this petition, happened on March 21st. I believe this says 2017. And so she says in this paperwork, and again, just give me a little bit of space here to try to paraphrase this, but she says that she went yesterday. This is what she said on March 21st, and found out that her reports would lead to him being charged with a felony. And because of that, decided to lay off and said, you know what? I don't want to do something that would cause that kind of harm, even though, it happened. Well, she says when she got home, her room was ransacked. He broke into her house and destroyed her room, breaking many different personal belongings. They said that it looked like he, said to destroy the room, ransacked, and everything. It was all over the carpet and things like that. I mean, this is insanity. This is insanity. If this is true, we have to assume it is here, right? And again, he could, decide to speak his side of this, but 7 years later, he did, as far as I can tell, pleaded guilty to violating the restraining order, and that's if that's the case, I don't think he has much of an argument to make here. So she mentioned crying, calling the cops, and they dusted for fingerprints. And she just said she never felt this personally violated in her life, and couldn't believe that a human being could break into her house and this and that. And that's the psychological toll that comes from cases like this, where you go, oh my gosh, it's like, it's like the physical damage, and I can't speak for anybody here, but I can imagine in some cases the physical damage isn't half of it. It's the emotional damage that you sometimes have to carry with you for life. So, checked off past incidents where he shattered her bedroom window, threw the phone so hard at a wall that it stuck into the wall and created a hole, broken furniture, put her in a chokehold. And here's the most damning part from what I can see here is woke up with bruises and asked him what happened. And he said, name redacted, I almost killed you. I don't want to talk about it. I can't add any context to this, but this is absolutely, becoming one of the, I guess, biggest stories in Bachelor Nation ever, really. Sadly, preventable, absolutely preventable. There's some cases we talk about, like the previous sort of accusations about Devin. He had someone said, oh, he was a bully in high school. The show could have never known that from their background checks. The show could have known. And so when we read this and get so offended by it, we go, who do we even get mad at? And I think it's a case of not accepting the Bachelor producers when they say, we try our best, it fell through the cracks. An internal investigation, probably or not by a third party firm, needs to happen to look into how they failed here. When he wrecked his car one night driving drunk, he returned to her room and grabbed his gun and walked away saying he was going to make me feel what it's like to have your car destroyed. This is crazy. And again, this isn't new stuff that was released on TikTok because of clout. When someone's like, oh, he's a bad guy, we have to sift between the stories that are credible versus, people wanting to say, oh, so-and-so is an asshole. This is terrorizing. This is very different. She said, finally, when everything went down, he was screaming at her repeatedly. And she said, on top of the physical abuse. And again, apologies, because some of it's kind of hard to read. And I'm just trying to glaze over some of the specifics. He was also verbally and mentally abusive. So look, you wouldn't wish this on your enemies. You really wouldn't. So what she says, I guess, is that after talking with her attorney, she wants to supplement her restraining order and add the request for counseling due to the emotional, psychological, and physical abuse caused by defendant. Again, these allegations are hers in the affidavit. I believe that he admitted to this because he pled guilty. That's my belief. I don't have the documents that say he pled guilty, but I think that's the operating belief. So this isn't a, well, he said, she said type of deal. Like this happened from all we can see here, according to these alleged affidavits. She also mentioned she wanted to be reimbursed for the damage to her house, car, and personal belongings. That damage was over $1,000. It was broken perfume, broken coat hangers. At the very least, this ransacking, the physical damage, I'm sure, is nothing compared to the emotional damage. She says, I would greatly appreciate the court holding the defendant responsible for all the costs of counseling and for all damages done to the house, car, and personal things. So again, it's heavy. And we talk about heavy things on the show. Sometimes we talk about light things. Sometimes we talk about heavy things. All the previous conversations regarding, well, Devin had narcissistic tendencies. Yeah, so don't a lot of people that go on the show. This is a different conversation. This is a conversation of not letting somebody who could treat another human like this onto the program. He might have done his time and he might have learned his lesson for all we know, but that doesn't excuse the wild incompetence for this to quote unquote fall through the cracks here. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Please keep it kind. I tried my best to sanitize this in a way that it's a conversation that's going to be happening with a lot of the content creators. It's all over the internet already. And, we've been accused in the past of talking about information that should be personal. And even though this is public, I still feel, as having talked with some of my content creator friends, that I should not be sharing the physical documents. How rich that some of the, subreddits that have accused me of, or accused us of exposing some of those documents, doing it the same. But hey, it's a hypocritical world we live in, right? Well, again, you probably haven't seen me so speechless because I think there might be more either to come out. There might be more. Like, I don't know if Devin was actually going to do Nick Viall's podcast. I mean, if I were Nick, I would not want to touch this with a 10-foot pole because it's like, what can you say? If you were a crisis management firm hired by Devin, I think you have to just admit to everything. This all happened. But I don't even know. I don't even know. But I think for the sake of the audience, I don't think any content creators or podcasters will touch interviewing him. It's kind of like, well, bro, it's on you. Do what you want. Share your truth. But this was real sad to see that this happened. And while we couldn't have prevented this from happening 7 years ago, we could have definitely prevented all of us from knowing his name. It's I operate off of a very basic assumption that everyone's trying the best with the information that they have. I operate on the assumption that people don't have restraining orders on them. Again, alleged from the affidavit that all this happened. So call me naive, call me optimistic, call me, whatever you want. But this is a different story, and it's leaving a very, very sad and disgusting taste in my mouth. Let me know what you think. Keep it kind, and we'll be back with more content. I've already got my other thoughts on this on the podcast, along with other entertainment and pop culture news. So if you want to check that out, podcast is right there. My afternoon episode is up. I'm guessing more information will be coming out. I can't get to it as fast as it's coming out, so we'll have that on tomorrow's episode and continue the discussion. All right, we'll talk to you later.